I'm not gonna lie, I don't know how people make money off NFTs because I have been making negative money off NFTs, but I still collect.
Welcome to the Alpha Podcast, made possible by West Coast Customs and Neverland Studios, hosted by me, Jussup. Before we begin, I want to remind everybody that what you're about to hear is not financial advice, nor do we endorse any of the guests or projects on the show. This is simply meant for educational purposes, and oftentimes I'm learning about these projects in real time as we're recording them. While this is brought to you by West Coast Customs and Neverland Studios, the opinions expressed are of my own or the guests, and not of the companies. So without further ado, let's tap into the episode. A little loud, but I think
I like it. It's like we're in our secret little tunnel.
Yeah, totally.
Kind of romantic.
And with the pink and the ambiance, yeah, it's cool.
Man.
Tell me a little bit about yourself.
My name is Kenny. I am a Gemini.
Like long walks on the beach.
No, I got into the crypto space in around like 2013. I was running a cloud computing company at the time, so I had a lot of infrastructure, a lot of servers, and I learned about this thing called Bitcoin mining, specifically Bitcoin, and I thought that it'd be a great way to just like cover the cost of the servers that I had like up and running anyway. So I started doing that a little bit in 2013, and that kind of got me down the rabbit hole of crypto and blockchain. I've been doing a little bit of dabbling ever since. In around 2018, I went to go pursue my MBA, went to MIT Sloan, and I was the teaching assistant for all the blockchain courses over there. And that kind of got me a little bit more in tune with the crypto space, and that's where I actually met my founders for Manta Network. So Victor, he's leading up all the token economics strategy and investments, and he was doing his master's in economics at Harvard at the time. And then Shumo, he's our technical co-founder. He was working at Algorand at the time. And so we all met in the Cambridge area. But yeah, that's a little bit about me and how Manta got started.
And yeah, so tell me what Manta is.
Yeah, so we're a layer 1 privacy protocol, and our value proposition in the Polkadot and Kusama ecosystem is specifically to allow users to privatize any parachain asset. And so if you want to send 10 dot or KSM or Manta or other parachain assets privately, you can go through our network to do that. And we enable it through XCM.
A lot of the people are going to have no idea what a layer 1 privacy network means. So can you break that down?
Yeah, sure. So when I say layer 1, we're not a smart contract system, right? We're building out an entire network, and you can think of other layer 1s like Ethereum or Avalanche or Harmony or Phantom, etc., right? Like they built out an entire network that has their own consensus, right? Proof of work, proof of stake, proof of whatever, right? And then you have applications and ecosystems building on top. And that's exactly what we're doing as well. But our primary focus is making sure that privacy is built in a very scalable and secure manner. So we're building that privacy with scalability in mind, with performance in mind, and allowing an entire ecosystem of different use cases, products to emerge with, I guess, us enabling privacy,
right?
For lack of a better term. Yeah.
I guess how does that tie in with Polkadot and Kusama network?
Yeah. So the whole premise of us being a parachain is that we kind of set out thinking that privacy, it's very dependent on user experience, right? You've got projects like Zcash, which it does a great job on the privacy side, but on the user experience side, if I wanted to send like 10 dot privately, I can't use Zcash, right? I have to go to a centralized exchange, swap out the 10 dot for some amount of Zcash, pull it out into my wallet, privatize that transaction, et cetera, right? And then the person on the other side has to reverse that entire process, right? So the friction is definitely there. And so we wanted to create a user experience with privacy that's more akin to what people are already familiar with. So with Manta Network building as a parachain, we're able to allow other parachains to privatize their assets. So for example, if Akala decides to privatize their stablecoin, they can use Manta Network rather than building out an entire cryptography team themselves. And so now we are able to privatize Akala's stablecoin and allow Akala's users to privately transact those stablecoins to one another within the Akala ecosystem.
And how long have you guys been around?
We started in around Q4 of 2020.
What was the reason for Polkadot or this ecosystem?
Yeah, so it goes back to the mysterious terminology of layer 1. So because we wanted to build an entire infrastructure from the ground up focused on privacy, our options are a little bit limited, right? In this case, we can't deploy as an application, a decentralized application on Ethereum, right? So like we have to build our own network layer and everything, security, governance, etc. And so, the options are essentially you build your own sort of L1 network that's kind of isolated from the rest of the Web3 universe, or you build it with a substrate framework, and now all of a sudden you get to go to market faster because the L1 security is shared within the entire Polkadot layer. You get to leverage interoperability through XCM so that you can connect to other parachains and you can privatize their assets. And I mean, it was not a complex decision for us.
Yeah. So is that essentially, I mean, I would assume that most of these parachains have their own reasons, but is that the kind of, I guess, theory around having parachains in general is to have that interoperability and...
Yeah, I'd say that's a huge value proposition, right? Like I think like with any project coming into the Polkadot ecosystem running for a parachain, right? There's other options such as like a parathread, but specifically focusing on a parachain, right? Like you can fully leverage that interoperability that's available through XCM, right?
Yeah.
And so like I think like it would be really unfortunate for a parachain to not leverage that resource because it's truly a unique value proposition to the Polkadot ecosystem.
When it comes to like NFTs or gaming and stuff, is there any way that ties with your parachain?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, like so for example, if you have an NFT and you want to have that NFT privatized, and what I mean by privatized in this case would be a use case of, for example, Twitter, right? Twitter has enabled NFTs and you have to verify that you own the NFT to make it your profile picture,
right.
PFP.
Yeah.
But the problem right now is that your NFT is in your wallet with all of your other assets and all of your transaction history. So when Twitter verifies your PFP, they see all of your transaction history, all of your assets and everything, right? And this is kind of slightly an invasion of privacy, right? So what if there was a scenario where you can verify that you owned an NFT without actually providing any information about that NFT or your wallet address or your transaction history, right? That's enabled through our network.
Yeah, which I think is really important, like we're seeing so much scamming and things happening, phishing, and it gets scary. Like you don't want to approve every transaction that comes through. And do you collect NFTs?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How long have you been collecting NFTs?
I'm not gonna lie, I don't know how people make money off NFTs because I have been making negative money off NFTs, but I still collect. I went into Meeseeks. So Meeseeks is that like, I don't know if you're like really active on Discord.
I mean, there's so many.
Yeah,
so
there's like MEE6. It's a bot on Discord.
Oh yeah. Okay.
They started minting NFTs.
I just heard about this.
Yeah. So I got into that pre-sale.
Okay.
And so like that's the most recent one I'm super excited about. Yeah.
Cool.
'Cause, like we've been longtime users of Me6 and like every single Discord channel in the crypto and NFT space uses Me6.
Totally. Was that an ETH project?
I purchased an ETH.
Yeah.
I think I saw some people say they were minting in Polygon as well. So
Interesting.
I'm not entirely sure.
When collecting NFTs, are you multi-chain?
I would say that I am multi-chain, but I will admit that majority of, like, in terms of quantity wise, right? Like it's primarily on the ETH chain. I think just the variety or like ETH and ETH derivatives, right? Like L1s or L2s that are EVM compatible.
Right.
Primarily because of, OpenSea.
Yeah, I get it. Do you have any Polkadot NFTs?
Oh yeah. We have our own sort of Polkadot NFTs minted as well, and we've got some great collaborations from like community members as well. Not just, I guess when I say Polkadot, I'm also including like Kusama. Yeah. And so I would say I'm an active collector of our Manta and Calamari based NFTs.
So, are they like a PFP type?
Every NFT can be a PFP.
Yeah. Was it generative?
We are working on some generative stuff right now with some other Parachain projects, but the ones that I currently have in my wallet, no, they're not generative.
Not generative. Cool. What are some things that you're looking forward to in the space in general, Web3 all around?
Specifically with Parachains, right? Like, not to toot our own horn, but I'm really looking forward to applying privacy all the different use cases that are emerging, right?
Yeah.
Like thinking about like even on-chain governance, right? Like one of the issues that we really see right now that we've talked to a lot of projects inside and outside of the Parachain ecosystem. On-chain governance, because all the voting is public, there's an issue with people just not wanting to vote against the grain, right? So like if like 99% of people want to vote yes and there's a 1% chance of people voting no, the 1% just might not want to vote because they don't want to, you know, get associated with that particular vote. And so they just don't voice their opinion at all. And that skews, I guess, for lack of a better term, the democratic process.
Yeah.
And so I think applying a layer of privacy to that is going to be tremendously valuable, right? Because even now when you go to a fair voting system, you don't have someone breathing down your neck and looking at your every vote,
Totally.
right? You have a booth.
Yeah, I think voting in general just works better anonymously, right?
Exactly. And like other systems like Payroll, right? I understand the whole argument about like, you know, pay transparency and everything. It seems to be like a pretty strong movement right now, but like, you know, there are downsides to that as well. So for example, like if I'm a competing project and I'm trying to hire, you know, team members from your side, I know exactly how much you're paying your team members and like, you know, how do we, you know, structure a competitive package. And so like it's just, there are definitely upsides and downsides. So I think like enabling privacy is an option for a lot of these use cases that are emerging in Parachains. Yeah, I'm very excited about that.
Health records are probably a great example of privacy, right? Like if health records were to go on the blockchain, like you're gonna want privacy.
So I had a brief stint in like health tech.
Okay.
Right? I specifically worked on a project that was using patient data to generate machine learning algorithms for things like detecting cancer, detecting like kidney stones or all this stuff like early on, right?
Interesting.
You know, there are some industries, and healthcare is definitely one of them, where like the technology isn't the bottleneck, right? Because like people in that industry recognize that there is better technology out there. But I think the mentality of those types of industries are more so around like, okay, we have to be as safe as possible, which, you know, is understandable, as compliant as possible, because we don't want to, you know, impede on our patients' privacy. But also like in a structural level as an employee of those systems, right? Your incentive isn't exactly to take the risks on the hottest new technology. Your incentive is to, you know, have a stable job. And so like I'd say like in like healthcare, definitely like technology is not the barrier for adoption. I would love to see blockchain use cases in technology, because I think like definitely patient data being controlled sovereignly by the actual patient, like that's a step that we necessarily need to take. But like right now, other issues such as like compliance and like individual incentives just don't align yet.
Yeah, that makes sense. What are your thoughts on, like, I mean, I've been going to a lot of different conferences. This is my first Polkadot conference. But one of the big things, and I heard Alex talking about it on stage, but like it seems to be that these ecosystems in Web3 in general, it almost feels like we're going to hit a point where we're just talking with the same people, right? Like it almost becomes a closed circle. And what do you think the next steps are to bring more people, or the mass amount of people into this space? To it almost feels scary, right? To some people. I talk to some people and they're like, JPEGs, crypto, Dogecoin. Like, so what do you think we do to help onboard new people?
When you think about it, privacy does enable a lot of use cases, not just on the consumer and retail level, but also on the enterprise and business level as well, right? Like I think like the payroll system that I described before with privacy, it's a very contrived example, but you can extrapolate that into other use cases where like there's competitive advantages that you can have by keeping certain information private, right? And so like on the B2B side, I think that is definitely a huge use case. On the retail side as well, but expanding beyond privacy, I'd say like overall, the emphasis definitely needs to be on user experience, because the issue that we have today is like, I mean, even you and me, right? Like I don't know about you, I'm kind of a degen in this space. Like you're probably more of a degen than I am.
I'm actually not really.
Okay, cool. But like, let's say you are, right? Like
let's pretend.
We've got, even me, like I've been in this space for a really long time, and every time I send a transaction, I'm nervous. Like I copy, paste the address, and then I look back at the other, like the previous place where I copied from, and I'm like, do these match? Am I like being keylogged right now? Is there like a Yeah, and like
the anxiety before it hits is just terrible.
Yes, and it never goes away.
Yeah.
And so like I'd say like, you know, you get used to it and it's just a necessary evil that you live with. But like for a majority of users out there, they don't want to feel that pain. And as soon as they feel that pain, they're just like, whoa, this is not for me.
Yeah.
Right. And so like I think the user experience definitely needs to improve, right? Like
100%. It's going to get to a point that it's so seamless and the user experience is so built in that people aren't even aware they're using that technology. I think like the goal of this podcast for me is to help people understand that this is a technology and not just JPEGs and crypto, and hopefully inspire people in other industries to look at it and go, oh, this is how I may be able to leverage this technology while it's fresh and new and it isn't a super oversaturated space yet. Like imagine if you knew that social apps were going to be as big as they were when they were up and coming, or just the internet in general, but eventually everybody's going to use it regardless if they know or are aware of the space at all. I mean, there's still people out there that don't know there's a difference between Wi-Fi and internet, so it's going to happen, like, but they use them. So
you're absolutely right, and actually that brings up a really interesting thought that I had a conversation around the other day, which is like, you know, when Facebook started off, when Snapchat even started off, and like TikTok, for example, right? Like, or Twitter, right? Like when Facebook and Twitter started off, the legacy social apps, right? Like no one took them seriously.
Right.
Right? It's just like, oh, it's just some place that you post stupid things, and like the fact that people are even paying attention to what people post on Twitter and Facebook is so stupid. And then all of a sudden, you know, presidents started posting things on Twitter, and now it's creating international relations issues.
Yeah.
Right? But like it's really interesting because you see this transition where like, you know, you have these seemingly innocent applications and use cases that don't seem to be going anywhere, used by a young generation. But then that young generation becomes the old generation who is sitting in the manager seats.
Right.
And those are the people who grew up with the Facebooks and Twitters of the world. And they're like, wait, we got to take this a little seriously, guys.
Yeah. Oh, every old business owner is now trying to hire a millennial or Gen Z to give them a Facebook. I need a Facebook page or I'm going to fail. I need an Instagram page for my cookie shop.
A meta page.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same with crypto, right? Like, I mean, in 2013, well, I guess even before 2013, before my time, right? Like, it was just like, oh, you know, black market, drugs, all that stuff. And then ICOs come out and it's like, oh, just a money-making tool that's like scams. And now like 2020, 2022, it's just like, oh, we got to get in this. Like we're a legacy fund and we need to diversify our portfolio with cryptocurrency, right? And who's having these conversations? They're not talking to the, you know, like the older generations, the newer generation that's becoming older that's bringing these to the table. And so, yeah, I definitely agree. Like overall, the transition is definitely going to be there. Yeah.
Is there somewhere that people can follow you or socials?
Yeah. So my Twitter is super anonymous K. One
no
word.
longer anonymous.
I mean, I didn't reveal my full name. Oh, I guess I did in this podcast. Okay, you heard it here first. And then our account on for Manta is Manta Network.
Cool.
Also one word.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time, man. Thanks for there's a party going on, and you took the time to come to the corner.
These conversations are the most fun.
Yeah. So I really appreciate it.
Sweet. Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.